What do you do when you have all your plans identified? You have your goals laid out and you have your mindset set on achievement, and life has other plans for you. This is what we're talking about today as I introduce Lori Marini, who is going to talk with you about how she had to hit the pause button, not only on her business, but on her goals as she faced personal trauma, family illness, and a whole myriad of other unthought of surprises. She's going to talk with you about the importance of grace, of forgiveness for yourself, and how you have to make decisions that are going to be unpopular. So stay tuned and get ready to hear a story that is going to inspire, impact, and also motivate you to know that no matter where you are, no matter what life hands you, you can show up with grace, with dignity, and go after what is most important for you. I'm Clara Capano, and this is Women Winning Their Way. All right. Well, Lori, this is amazing because you are actually the first person that I have had back to my show since we rebranded it. So, Lori Marini, welcome to Women Winning Their Way.
Oh, thank you so much. That's a huge honor. I thank you. Thank you for
Well,
having
it's
me
an
back.
honor for me as well. The reason I wanted to have you on this show is, I'm just going to cut to the chase. We can have plans, and life might change things for us. And I don't think I am discounting anything when I say that you've been living kind of in a shit show for the last year, maybe a little bit longer. And I remember us sitting down talking about our big goals, our big plans, and doing all of these. And the last year just has not been what you had hoped it would be. And I wanted to bring you on because I think so many times we have to learn to take a step back. We have to learn to hit the pause button and learn that sometimes we have to give ourselves the grace that life isn't going to turn out the way that we want it to turn out. And we struggle with that. We fight with it because it's not what we want. So, tell us a little bit about you and kind of about what you've been going through and how, you've had to pivot and learn how to not only give yourself grace, but more importantly, forgive yourself.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you for all of that. And you are not lying when you said that I feel like I've been through hell and back, right?
Mhm.
So we've known each other now for, gosh, many years.
Mhm.
And you're absolutely right. Where last year we set a plan and we were like, we're going to make this happen. And we had so many great ideas of how to serve others.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
And what happened for me was that as I was rolling that out, I came to find out that my cancer that I got diagnosed with 7 years ago came back.
Mhm.
And I am metastatic breast cancer right now. And it was one of those things that I had to have really a difficult conversation and really like sit in the fact that if I don't deal with this right now,
Mhm.
it could get even worse.
Right.
So I had to make a really difficult decision to pivot. And
Mhm.
the pivot is, whatever's happening in my life right now, whatever I want to do with my business, whatever I want to create for other people, I can't do that until I'm good. And
Mhm.
so it's that concept of putting your oxygen mask on first.
Yeah.
And for me, that meant I needed to really deep dive into holistic and conventional treatment
Mhm.
that has had a financial burden, has had a time burden, has had a feeling really good burden, right? Like it takes me about 5 days to recoup from chemotherapy that I'm having. It's I've had to pull money that I didn't plan on using to, I mean, I'm not going to lie, six figures for me to go through the treatment that I'm going through.
Mhm.
Um, and the impact on being able to focus on what I want to do
Mhm.
has probably been the most difficult.
Yeah. And I know that, we've had some personal conversations. There was a lot of, resentment, anger, because again,
Mhm.
you had this vision and you were frustrated. And I know that there were certain times where not only for yourself, but there were other people around you that were sort of like, you can still do it. Can't you just, put on your happy face and you fought that a lot. So talk a little bit about, how you went through the, I don't want to say the justifying, but sort of the weighing of, I have to take care of myself, but, God damn it, I want to hit my goals.
Yeah, it's such a good question because my brain is like, "Oh, you could do this." My body is like, "You can't." And
Mhm.
then all the other factors outside of me, like the universe, was like, "What are you doing?" And it took me a good 6 months of me fighting it, of being like, "No, I'm gonna do it. No, I'm gonna do it." I think a lot of people that are listening, and I know you and I are this way, where we are headstrong for the fact that we're goal oriented. We
Mhm.
like to, we're high performers.
Yep.
And so if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it.
Mhm.
And it took something for me to stop and say, this is not what you should be focusing on.
Yeah.
And
Did
it
you
took me a
did
good
you
6
battle
months.
with feeling like a failure?
Yes, absolutely. I felt like, well, no, I should be able to do this. There's no reason why I can't. People go through treatments and, have a successful business all the time. But what I didn't account for was the mental capacity,
Mm.
was the mental gymnastics, that conversation in the back of my head that allowed me not to focus. So I was going through the motion, but I wasn't at the level that I usually perform at because I hadn't dealt with some of that background conversation, right?
Mhm.
Like, just like with a lot of things in life, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of like, well, what happened? We try to control it and we can't. So, um, that takes up space, and that really is one of the most difficult things to deal with when you have a setback, right? We are on a course, we know exactly where the finish line is, and then we get taken down another pathway that we don't expect. We don't know what the road looks like, we don't know what we're going to encounter. And there's a lot of mental gymnastics that
Mhm.
goes through with that we sometimes don't realize. And those are like the conversations that keep us up in the middle of the night.
Yeah. I know for me personally, I would be wrestling with when people would ask me, what are you working on? Because for me, I would feel shame of being like, I'm less than. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not doing again. It's that idea of being an overachiever. And I would really, harbor a lot of shame for myself of that, I'm holding back, or again I'm being less than, so again with that anger, that sense of failure, that shame. And I I would imagine on some level you probably just wanted to disappear.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I did 2 things. In the beginning, I ignored what I had going on. I
Mhm.
kept moving forward, I kept doing all the things, I kept pretending like nothing was going on in my life that was other than, my relationships, my work, all of that. And then I had a realization that, like, I may not be here next year
Mhm.
if I don't handle that right now.
Right.
And then I was like, I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know how to move forward. I felt
Mhm.
like I felt like I didn't have the support, like a mentor to guide me through, like, okay, this is what you need to do, but this is how you could still have your business. And I was angry that I had to take that step back because I'm like, no, this is something that I really want. Like, how am I in this position right now
Mhm.
of having to deal with this
Mm.
again because I thought it was handled.
Right?
And also because I am a goal, I seek to reach my goals because I wasn't meeting the things that I said that I was going to do, because I couldn't concentrate, because I couldn't dedicate the time because I wasn't feeling good, because I had to, um, pivot and take care of other responsibilities. I did feel like a failure. I felt like,
Mhm.
no, I should be able to do this. I should be having the results that I want to have. I should be, meeting those goals.
Mhm.
And the whole time, the goals that I should have been meeting were the ones of working on my mindset, working on my physical state, making my home environment what it needed to be, making my relationships what they needed to be. And the whole time, I was focused on my work as opposed to focusing on me.
Mhm.
And I know that that's a trauma response for me.
'Kay. And let's just also pull back the curtain a little bit more, because in the midst of dealing with all of this, oh, by the way, your father passed away.
Yeah.
So now, again, he went through a very tough illness of which you really were a primary caregiver for him. So now you have to let go of your business. You're trying to take care of yourself. You're trying to take care of your father. I really don't even know how you found the strength to get out of bed in the morning.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I wonder. Sometimes I wonder. And I know I make a joke about it, but it was really difficult. It still is really difficult because now that my dad has passed, I'm now responsible for my mom.
Mhm.
They were married 57 years, and this is a huge impact on her
Yeah.
and how she's living her life. And, we had, in the middle of all of that, we sold our home, and we moved because of the financial burden of my treatments. We're like, it just doesn't make sense right now. Let's reduce, our output of income and just set us up to win. And
Mm.
then as I'm doing that, my dad and my mom, I moved them closer to me so that way I didn't have a long commute. And they were readily, they were near me too. So it what I was ultimately just trying to do is setting myself up to win, right? And
Mhm.
one of the things about resilience is like learning from what you're dealing with, right? Like if you see that the setback really has you lose progress in whatever you're trying to do, then pay attention to that, right? Take a look, assess what's going on, and analyze all of it. And look for areas that you can just maybe modify a little bit, maybe add something. And that way you can really move, you can recover quickly
Mhm.
from whatever setback is happening. And so for me, when my dad passed, I had just started my treatment. I was like in week 3. So I had to have a difficult conversation of like, I need to pause the chemotherapy portion of it.
Mhm.
Part of what was happening is I needed to fly. I needed to fly for his services. And so
Mhm.
we had to have a difficult conversation as a family of, um, are we going to all get on a plane knowing I'm immunocompromised, knowing I'm taking care of my mom?
Mhm.
And are we going to make this happen in real time, knowing that where we're flying to right now, the flu is rampant, everybody is sick, everybody's indoors? Or do we just hold on a second? And
Mhm.
as a family, we made a really difficult decision to just pause his celebration of life for a month.
Mhm.
So that way, the environment can support itself in healing. And that way we could show up. And that even though, I empowered myself in what I needed to do to make sure that my immune system was good, I was still worried about the people around me. Like my
Yeah.
mom looked at me and she's like, "Well, what happens if I get sick?" I'm like, "Well, then I'm going to leave food at your door. Like you're not going to be able to see
Mm.
me." And it was a really difficult thing for us to do. And some people gave us a hard time about it. They didn't recognize why we were doing that. And we were just like, that's okay. You could say whatever you want, but right now this is what we need to do to
Mhm.
really make sure that everybody is safe.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to do in our own lives. Is like sometimes the unpopular opinion is what you're going to need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. You got to be unpopular sometimes. So
Yeah.
I have a few questions that I want to ask you. The first question I want to ask you is this idea of how are you doing? Because people ask us all the time, oh, how are you? Now, some people we want to go into a conversation, some people we don't want to go into a conversation, but quite frankly, you weren't doing good. So, how did you respond to that when people would ask you, so how are you doing, Lori?
Like you said, it depends on who's asking, right?
Mhm.
A lot of times throughout my journey, I've just been like, I'm good.
Mhm.
And part of that, again, that's also a trauma response for sometimes I didn't want to get asked questions. I didn't want people to tell me, oh, my uncle had that and he died, right? Like, oh, well, at
Mhm.
least you got a really good boob job out of everything, right? Like that kind of stuff I don't need to hear.
Right.
So that's the first level of it. And
Mhm.
then for people that I do allow into my circle, into how I'm dealing with, I've had to learn to really be a little bit more upfront, meaning I'm now okay with telling people, you know what, this is really hard for me right now.
Mhm.
And the people that I've surrounded myself with know not to provide me pity because I find that disempowering. So their response is more like, how can I support you?
Mhm. Yeah.
And
And that's a question I really wanna ask you is, if we are on the outside and we have someone who's going through these, what are some of the best things that we can do to support them? Because I've heard things such as, "Don't ask, what can I do?" Because they don't know what they can do. So what are some of the things that, really were helpful for you that other people could do? I know everybody's different, but for you, what were some of the things that other people did that were really helpful and supportive?
you know, it's small things. I'll be honest with you. After a day of chemotherapy for me right now, it takes me about 3 days before I could actually walk down the street.
Mm,
So, think about things like doing their laundry, cooking them some meals. Like, don't go crazy on like Taco Tuesday, right? Unless you've asked them in advance, but maybe make them a soup, a chicken soup, right? Or something that you know that they're going to be able to eat. Go grocery shopping for them. If they have children, like take their kids out of the house for a little bit, bring them to a movie or something.
mhm.
Um, Little things. For me right now, it's like I'm always helping everybody else out. I've been really frustrated that I don't always get the support back.
Right.
And so that's what I asked for. I'm like, you know what? I know you can't do a lot for me. I know you can't go and drive there for me, but I'm like, you could bring me some soup.
Mhm.
That way, then that's one less meal I need to cook, and I can eat it because it's not going to aggravate my stomach that much.
Mhm. Right.
So look for the little things. And then sometimes too, just be there. Just call them every now and again, check in on them, see how they're doing. You don't have to spend money in order for them to feel like you're a part of it.
Mhm.
Um, and if they have pets, maybe you bring their pet to a daycare for the day for them,
Mhm.
right? There's a
It's
lot of little things that you can do.
As busy professionals, we women need to stay on top of our health and energy. The Working Women's Channel is proud to partner with Snapback Energy as a sponsor for today's episode because they help us to show up as the best version of ourselves so we can take on the day no matter what is thrown our way. At Snapback Energy, their scientifically perfected formula is made to help you show up and feel great, and it will also increase your overall energy level and the health of your gut and liver. Let Snapback Energy be a part of your day and to help you build the energy to fuel your mind, your body, and all your goals. Yeah, those are great. Now, the other question I want to ask you is about asking for help because as women, that is hard for us to do. Whether it's because we want everyone to know I can take care of it myself, or we don't want to show that we're weak or we're failing or we're crumbling. So, how did you deal with that? Is that something that always came easy for you? If not, like, how did you start to reconcile with asking for help?
Yeah, asking for help does not come easy for me. I am 100% stubborn and I'm also really independent. So for me, it came in a lot of humbling experiences,
Mhm.
right? One of the things that I have right now is I have a pick line, so I can't lift anything over 10 pounds. So understanding the severity of what's going to happen to me if I break the rule on that.
Mhm.
Um, and I tried it. Don't get me wrong. I did it once and the pain was so
Mm.
excruciating that I knew that that was an area I could not compromise in. But that's, I guess, to answer your question in a completely long way, there are certain things that you're going to be able to compromise on, and you need to understand what those are. So, like what clothes you wear, or maybe the makeup you wear, or whatever, um, you can compromise on those. And then
Mhm.
there's going to be the things you can't compromise on. Like right now, I know I can't compromise on lifting anything heavy. I can't compromise on the food that I'm eating. I can't compromise on the level of stress I need to keep. And once I realized the severity of what would happen if I did compromise those,
Mhm. Mhm.
it makes it be a non-negotiable.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And you have to also understand the cost,
Mhm.
right? Like right now, I'm dealing with a huge financial burden in order for me to go through this. That the costs of that outweighed me having to humble myself and ask for help. So the example that I have for that is if you join a CrossFit gym, right? When I belonged to a CrossFit gym and I paid $150 a month, I made sure I would go to the gym because it cost me $150.
Mhm.
But when I joined Planet Fitness at $10, I would never go,
Yeah. And they
right?
know
So
that.
yeah, and you don't cancel it and they make it really difficult, right?
Mhm.
So you have to set it up that the cost of you not following through with that is going to be detrimental.
Yeah. Wow. So, you are such a beautiful soul. I mean, you're beautiful on the outside just as much so as you are on the inside. And, you know, you have taught me so many lessons. And, watching your journey, there are so many times where I have just wanted to be there to be able to give you a hug because, I want to stop the pain for you. And I wish there was more that I could do. And I wanted to, again, have you share this, not because I wanted to have you relive any of it, but because I feel that every day so many of us are dealing with these and we just feel like the wave is coming and crashing down on us. And to have you be so open and honest with your journey, I really know is going to help others. One of the things I really want to ask you is because we talk about creating success, and that's what this show is about. But I would love to ask you now, sitting where you are today, you have really had to redefine what success is going to be for you over this last year, year and a half. So, sitting where you are today, how do you now define success for yourself right now?
Hmm. This is a really good question. We always look at success being outward.
Hmm.
What do we accomplish? How much money did this person have? What title do they have? Who are they surrounded by? What car did they drive, right? That's a lot of times what people define as success. And this process for me changed all that. I was never really a materialistic person, but like I said, I was goal oriented. So if you look
Hmm.
on my wall, you'll see I have a whole bunch of like certificates as to what I've accomplished. And now my success is how much peace do I have in my life?
Hmm.
How fulfilled am I by my relationships? How am I showing up for other people? Like, how good of a human am I?
Mm.
And that I woke up today
Yeah.
and that I could still drive my car, I could still eat, I could still perform the small little wins in my day.
Ugh. So, Lori, thank you so much for sharing time with us today, for sharing your story, for inspiring others, and for showing us again the courage and grace that, we all need to have each and every day. When I think of you, that is exactly what I think about. I think about courage and grace. And I just want to say how much I admire you, respect you, and how honored I am to be able to call you my friend. So,
I
thank
love
you
you.
for being here and sharing this.
I love you. The feeling is mutual. And thank you so much for having me.
You bet. All right, everyone, let's break this down. I mean, I really hope that you heard some of these powerful messages that Lori shared with us. Some of the things that, I wrote down is this idea of you're going to have to make compromises. Regardless of if you're going through a lot of the personal illnesses and all of those things that Lori has or not, you can't do it all. And you're going to have to lay things out, and you're going to have to start to ask yourself, what are some of the things that I can and cannot compromise on? The idea of learning how to ask for help, because none of us are going to be able to achieve our goals on our own. Listening through to her, it really brought me into the 5 stages of grief, because having to put the pause button on her business, that was a big moment of grief. That was an ending, or at least a pause for her, and going through the anger, the sadness, the not wanting to, accept it, and then getting to the other side of the full acceptance, and then the renewal of where she is. So just understanding you're going to have to work through these, so to get a pulse point of where are you and really understand those things. She had to have those real conversations with herself and know that you're working through it. One of the most powerful things that she talked about is the idea of being unpopular. Not everybody is going to agree with you. And you know what? Too bad for them. Know what you need to do. Know what is going to work for you, your family, your personal dynamics. And if other people are not on board, too bad for them, because the only person that you really need to show up for is yourself. So just know life isn't always going to fit into a pretty box. And what you need to do is you need to be able to look yourself in the mirror and know that you are giving your best and that you are showing up for yourself. So, this was a very powerful and very real and beautiful episode. And I really hope that you took away some value. I know that so many others are dealing with challenges each and every day. So, I ask you to not just take this message in for yourself, but please share this episode so that we can make sure that we are providing strength, direction, and support for others on a global level. I'm Clara Capano. Thank you for being here, and always keep following for new episodes of Women Winning Their Way.